The United Arab Emirates has hired the founder of the controversial security company Blackwater to set up a paramilitary force made up of foreign mercenaries in Abu Dhabi. Their task to help maintain stability and security and to put down any internal revolt in the country. It's a contentious move which raises questions about loyalty, the role of citizens and the potential instability brought on by the popular uprisings in the Arab world. This is Inside Story. Hello and welcome to the program. I'm Jane Dutton. Paranoid or just protecting its citizens? The United Arab Emirates is welcoming mercenaries in a $529 million deal. On Sunday, the New York Times said it obtained documents showing that the Crown Prince of Abu Dhabi has hired the founder of the private security firm Blackwater Worldwide. Eric Prince will set up an 800-member battalion of foreign troops there. The paper said that the unit will be used to put down internal revolts, defend oil pipelines and skyscrapers from any possible terrorist attack, and also claimed that fighters from Colombia and South Africa have already been flown into the emirate, where its rulers are reportedly deeply concerned about the popular unrest in the Arab world, as well as the perceived threat from Iran. Historically, the UAE has enjoyed political and social stability, and successful diplomacy has helped to secure its position internationally. But let's have a look at the possible security risks that might motivate a small country like the UAE to look outside its borders for help. Internally, the most significant potential threat to its stability stems from the risk of unrest within the large expatriate community, while the external threat is limited to the long-standing dispute between the UAE and Iran over 3 tiny islands in the Gulf. Now, those islands are controlled by Iran, but claimed by the Emirate of Sharjah. There are fears this dispute could escalate into a military confrontation in the future. However, military experts still see the UAE's primary threat not as a conventional military one, but rather insurgency and terrorism. Joining us now to discuss this issue are our 3 guests from Kuwait. Abdulhadi Al-Ajmi, Board Secretary of the Kuwaiti Historical Society. From Leeds, James Worrell, Fellow at the School of Politics and International Studies at the University of Leeds. And from New York, Phyllis Bennis, Fellow at the Institute of Policy Studies. Abdulhadi, does this sit easily with you, this knowledge that the UAE is arming up with mercenaries?
Actually, the whole issue came out from newspapers that declared such information, the possess of document that prove the UAE involvement of creating such a group. However, also more reliable sources confirm such activity. However, to think about this, the UAE itself haven't told us much about this issue. None of the UAE or even the GCC country media presentation have brought to the attention the explanation.
Yeah, they're keeping pretty quiet about this. Why do you think they're so quiet about it?
Actually, it's very sensitive. Such a thing supposed to be, the way I see it, supposed to be for a certain political needs. None of them related to the interior position of the Abu Dhabi itself and within the UAE, or the UAE and within the region itself. I thought this troop, if it's true what the source is telling us, it's a troop that needed to be part of a more free to act aspect of UAE military. So,
Phyllis, do you agree it's free, or is it being provocative?
No,
well, I think it's very provocative, but I think that this is something that has to do with the internal situation of the United Arab Emirates. This is not about Iran. I don't think that the UAE, however much it wants the oil access of those 3 tiny islands, is about to go to war with giant Iran over control of those tiny uninhabited islands.
So do you think Iran is just being used as an excuse, yeah?
Yes, I don't think it has anything to do with it. This is in response to the Arab Spring. The fear is that there could be unrest. I think the reality is the fear is about the huge population of what are called guest workers who have no rights in the Emirates, as is the case in other Arab countries as well, because the population of citizens is so tiny that it's not sufficient to actually run the country, and the legitimacy of the monarchy is very much at stake because of that. This is, in many ways, a country with a majority non-citizen population. That's inherently unstable, although I don't anticipate that any actual uprising or example of the Arab Spring would come from that non-citizen community inside the United Arab Emirates, because they are so vulnerable. It's such a vulnerable population from poor countries whose governments are unable and unwilling to support them, and who face not just the loss of their passports, loss of their residency rights, loss of their jobs, but potentially much greater repression. If there's going to be a democratic rising,
I'm going to just jump in here quickly, Phyllis. I mean, this is
likely to come from the small
I should imagine that it's going to worry you that apparently this force is going to be used to quell any unrest in those camps.
And we have seen exactly that the claim is already being made by Arab Prince that his concern is that the mercenaries that he recruits, right now they're Colombians and South Africans known for huge human rights violations, not include any Muslims. Why? Because Muslim mercenaries might be unwilling to kill other Muslims, which tells us that his global plans are for a global mercenary army aimed at killing Muslims, wherever they may be, in whatever country hires him.
Okay, James, what do you make of this?
I agree that there is potential for the expatriate population in UAE to rise. I mean, that is the fear, but I think the real problem will come when the disenfranchised youth of the UAE, who are actually citizens of the country, find some kind of a common cause with some of the immigrant populations who work there. That is the real potential danger in the longer term, especially in the light of the Arab Spring.
Isn't it a concern as well, those Emiratis who travel abroad, get educated abroad and come back with ideas and the desire for change?
Oh, absolutely. I've taught many students from the UAE who have gone back determined to bring greater freedoms to their country and to speak their minds. And that is encouraging for the long term, I think.
Abdulhadi, what do you make of what both those guests said, that they really believe that this is an attempt to quell potential unrest within the country?
Actually, being away from the land, you're not part of the GCC, to know the whole idea of the workers. Actually, the workers, true, they represent a majority in certain cities, maybe in certain emirates, but still, none of those majorities worker have an idea or an organization or search for a political representation. Some arrest done by those workers, talking about rights, not political involvement. Add to that, more to that, the citizen, the GCC and the UAE itself, we did not even witness the UAE citizen moving for much of political right. That is an issue in the EU. Actually, the EU itself, the citizens are, as my friend said, they're few citizens where they don't have much of political right, in the sense that we're talking about, for example, comparing to Kuwait at least. But still, they are very wealthy. Their life is in a way that make them accept the fact. The worker, of course,
yeah, but you say they're very well paid, these workers, but many of them are treated appallingly. Many of them are treated like slaves. Many of them have their passports taken away. There's a certain amount of time before they rise up.
That's true, that's true. But this is not why people rise. People do not rise when they treated bad. People rise when they feel that there is a political need, they want to move toward it. So this is totally different thing. The movement in the Arab wars, the whole movement came from the citizen, none from the workers. So the whole movement in the region only make the states that do not have a representation of the people fear the people, the citizen themselves. Add to that, most of the workers who come to these countries come for a temporary period. In that moment, when they come from a much poorer places, and they appreciate they had this chance to work and make this money. So in the region right now, we do not see the workers who are coming from other countries to create a movement toward any political change. Add to that, the citizens themselves, we don't see much of movement in the UAE, and this is one thing we should think about it. So there is another explanation. I think the GCC, when we talk about the UAE's idea of attacking Iran and using 800, of course it cannot be believed, or you cannot understand it. But still, we should remember that the Iranian techniques built and based in forcing other country to move based in using